Good morning. It's certainly been an exciting morning for Douglas County. I think we've got all the technology figured out. If not, I'm sure you all will let us know. This is the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners' third day of budget deliberations. And yesterday we completed going through each request and the commissioner's preferences. And had quite a bit of discussion. And today we're back together to sort of see where we are so far and also look at mill levy impacts as well. So I would think, Cammie, it'd probably be yours to sort of walk us through where we are in the spreadsheet unless we have a different plan, Sarah.
Nope, there we go.
Commissioners, the results column that you see up there in, I believe it's light blue on that screen, shows your current mill levy adjustments. And with the changes as they stand right now, that mill levy is 44,176. There are some commissioner contingency decisions that were put into the commissioner fund. And so I have broken those out for you today instead of just giving you the lump sum you had yesterday of 295 sitting here. All the way off to the right, you'll see what those are holding for. Anywhere that's highlighted in yellow is what those apply to. We do have one last green box to talk about from the commissioner's budget. You might want to start there, and then we have mill levy reduction amount to actually decide and any other things.
Cammie, what is SMDC?
That was small business development.
So
That's
B.
not how you spell that.
Yeah, and I don't think it's small, I think it's chamber, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the chamber,
EDC.
Yeah,
EDC, is that, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Make sure I label that the way you need it.
I think it's probably important to know what is the amount that needs to remain in the commissioner's budget? Do you have that number?
Well, all I have. Okay, I don't have that number exactly. I have the amount that was in there that was not personnel or decisions.
Was that, I mean, just the sum of those four numbers, right? Was it 295?
Yeah, this is 295, so that will stay there, no matter what number I put down here.
Is that what you're asking about, Sarah?
Is that what you meant?
Well,
Because I've added them back in. And so
what did you add in?
295, the yellow boxes.
Okay,
And then because I'm adding them right there, I don't have to subtract them again from the subtraction I take.
yeah, I'm just, if it was 4.7 to 3.9, I guess I'm just wanting to try to see that formula that's your red there, just to know where we are. Okay, I can look there if you want. I'm just trying to make sure that we understand. No, I know. I guess I'm trying to think about, but this includes the 80. So you're just taking
I'm only taking 3,908.
out.
Yeah.
Well, you can't because part of that is the 295. So it's the
But I put it back
3,908
in.
minus 208. And how comes it still says 3,908?
Because if I either take it out here or I take it out here. If I do both places, I cannot take it out twice. That'll be a double taking it out.
I don't have you taken. I guess I'm just curious as to how we.
So right now this nets out to be exactly what you're saying. It nets out to be 361326.
Okay, so that,
It's doing what you're trying to make sure I'm
but
doing.
can you just click on the red cell on 74? Not showing you the formula. I guess that's the thing.
Oh, if I sum all those together down here at the bottom, I'm seeing 3.6 million. 13, you
Where?
can't see it. It's
Yeah.
tiny. Right there, the little arrow.
Okay,
But I'm saying it's doing the calculation that you're trying to make sure that's not being missed.
yes, but I guess I just want to make sure for people watching that you can't we could not reduce the mill levy 3.9 million.
You're correct.
So that was the number I was hoping that we could put on a screen.
See
and
on
show the
there?
Commission somehow.
Okay, I can remove all these numbers and then just punch in. Let's do that.
Well, or can you just add a row and
Yeah, you could put it
add
up
a row and
there.
And just
add
offset
a
it
sum?
again.
But it'll mess up your other stuff.
No,
So-
I'll add it again. You're fine.
Well, it'll mess up the totals in the column. Anyway, if you all are cool, I just want to make sure that we can't. I just want to make sure for anyone listening that we're clear that that they have to look at this very little tiny number at the
I'm gonna
bottom,
change it.
not anything highlighted on the screen.
I'm not set up to show that, but I'm gonna change
Yeah.
it so that it will.
Okay,
So of those four numbers, two of those are one-time costs, so they don't have a mill levy impact. Are we pulling that out in a different way?
Yeah. So they are not hitting the mill levy, they are hitting the one-time costs that come down in the non-appropriated, where you can see that this $1.2 million number, those are the amounts of one-time decisions you have taken from fund balance.
so technically that,
Anything with an OT.
okay, so but then technically above with the commissioner's budget, those two numbers should not be included in that total.
Yeah, but they have to be in that budget line. So it causes that problem, but the
Yeah.
math has been done.
Okay. You want to review the one-time list, show them that so that you can just see where make sure that that's consistent with what we talked about.
Sure, I don't have an actual list, but I can go down the ones that are marked OT. Would that work?
Yeah, for now, I think eventually,
I-
before we
I'm
wrap it up.
Compiling one for
Yeah,
them.
okay.
But I don't have it ready. KU Innovation Park, one-time funding of 225,000 is in the reduction from fund balance. The Cottonwood one-time expense of 386,800 for production upgrades. The,
Oh.
yeah, this was one time.
What's it?
This was the position that you guys funded for the full-time to part-time to full-time collection manager, one time. And then see how that goes. And then the other position was funded. That was their one and
Correct.
two. This is their number two priority.
Y'all remember commissioners?
That
Yeah,
ring,
We
okay.
were gonna see, because we were gonna collect data.
Yep.
To see if a fee would be more appropriate.
It was mentioned that it would not be comfortable.
Sarah's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Duly noted for the record.
Okay, the Willow, one-time cost for, Blueprint for Safety Program. That one's coming out of fund balance. The holding funds for the revolving loan matching discussions with the chamber is one-time funds. That was 105,000. The holding for the chamber EDC further discussions was one-time funds at 30,000. Did I
That
cause
one-
question?
Yeah, is that
Yeah,
one
I don't
time?
think that was one
Nope.
time. I think that was,
So this one should be mill levy?
The request was for ongoing funding.
right.
Yes.
I think that was ongoing, not one time.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Don't be sorry. We have
Yeah.
A lot of windy, curvy conversations to keep track of.
Aaron. Gotta put it back. Okay. Okay. District Attorney Investigator Vehicle Replacement Costs,
One time.
one time. ambulance capital transfer for the Station 6 expansions, one time. And that's it. That's everything that comes out of one-time general funds.
Then there's some
There's
additional
some-
under behavioral health.
Sarah, I always want to get, I mean, when we're thinking about the long-term financial health of Douglas County, we have set a goal of 25% of our fund balance. This hits into it a little bit, gets us less towards our goal. Does this seem like a reasonable, I mean, it's the decisions we made. Do you have any comments on that at all, or?
I'm comfortable with this, commissioners. What I would as you're aware of at year end, when we are getting ready to do our year end financials, I come to the commission and talk about transfers and update you as to where we anticipate ending the year. Through Douglas County's conservative financial practices and revenue estimating and departments being pretty good stewards of their budgets, we normally end the year in a surplus. What I would recommend, what I'm likely going to recommend is that we use some of those funds to, at year end, move our fund balance back up if they're available to move us towards that target. So because I know we have that flexibility, assuming that the year ends the way we anticipate it ending based off of how it's ended in the past, we'll do that then.
Don't know off the top of my head what our year-end transfers have been in past years.
Everywhere between 2 million and 5.
Okay.
And I anticipate it'll be on the higher end this year because I'm pretty conservative with how we budgeted interest and sales tax this year, because my concern with budgeting those completely accurately is then if interest begins to fall in future years, you've built your ongoing funding amounts on those. So I try to, when I'm budgeting for the long term in terms of revenues, I try to estimate where I think what we can sustain and what we can anticipate moving forward, and not necessarily budget towards a higher bump or a lower bump necessarily. Does that make sense?
It does make
Okay.
sense. I just want to get your perspective.
Tammy, will you scroll back up to the four things that you had listed under the mill levy? Or under the commissioners
commissioners, sure.
contingency?
Yeah, and I have some questions there too, so go ahead.
I just wanted to make right, okay, 2 for chamber EDC and then 2 related to the VOCA. Okay. For some reason, I thought one of those amounts was a different one-time fund, but anyway, that was me confirming personally, sorry. So the 105 one time is it having impact on that mill levy
It's
reduction?
just sitting
line? Okay,
there.
it's
No.
just sitting there for the category of contingency.
Yeah, to
correct,
sit
Tammy?
with the
Okay.
other commissioner
All right,
items.
thank you.
Correct.
We make a note, so the 110,000 for the DA's office, that's 2 positions, the VOCA and the VAWA.
Yeah.
So it's those 2 numbers together.
Take care of that.
And also Cammie, in my proposed budget, we retained $100,000. I'm not seeing that.
That's
in
not
there.
here.
Okay,
and
so-
we need to talk through that. And I think that was part of her, a part of Karen's questions on.
What was your proposed budget holding that $100,000 for, Sarah?
For homelessness and initiatives out of the housing and homelessness strategic plan work. The commissioners allocated those funds in 2023. And we were retaining them in the re-estimated budget, and I was hoping to retain them in 24. I don't have a good place to move them to yet because we're still working on that plan. But that's why I think unless the commissioners want to remove that, I think we need to.
No, thanks
Yeah.
for clarifying. I would like to keep it there and remember doing that as part of my math on this line.
Strategic plan. You can add the BAWA there if you want on the DA. Yeah.
Yes, that 100,000 that I had in commissioner's budget was after a conversation with Sarah about some expectation that that was going to be required at some point. And I know this was all the way back to Monday, the two discussions about the contract grant writing and the broadband matching. And I think the idea was that that would be, that commissioners were comfortable taking one or both of those if the need would arise out of commissioner budget, but we don't have that built in. Do we need to, or does that come out of one-time funds? How do we manage that one?
Well, we're also holding, your budget has a base budget of 45,000 in professional services and 80,000 miscellaneous expense. So we could add, your commissioners, you're certainly welcome to add it in. But I kind of feel like I've got some room there and either other. So we can certainly add it in. And then I also want to follow up on CJS pay positions too, once we get done with this. Go ahead.
Yeah, if there's room and flexibility, then it doesn't need to be reflected anywhere else. And I know some of that is a larger conversation that commissioners were going to have about those two items. I just wanted to see what needed to be done at this point, and it sounds like maybe that's already taken care of.
Yeah, I'm just looking at our mill levy number a little bit.
I mean, this is where if you have specific targets around that, I think that's helpful for us to know. I would say, commissioners, I visited with Pam Weegen yesterday about the impact of the sheriff's pay plan. Oh, man, that's a tongue twister. Pay plan proposal on her team. Every position in her department is at the current pay grade of captain or below. In comparison, except for Pam. So I do anticipate that if this will have a pretty significant impact on Pam's positions as well. So I think there's two ways we can handle this. Commissioners can set aside funds now if you want. If not, what I'm anticipating is it's going to take us a couple months here to figure out what that would look like. This is not budgeted to happen until 2024 anyway for the sheriff's office. We could come back to the commission, let you all be aware of its financial impact. And then when I'm in April and March of next year and working on next year's proposed budget, we can account for it in the reestimate and build it into then 2025. I'm willing to do that because I don't have a number for you right now. And any number I'd ask you to set aside would be simply a very rough estimate. But it's whatever the commission would prefer.
And are you talking about, there was some discussion about setting it aside as one-time funds out of 2024 and then building it into a budget in 2025 with an actual supplemental request from Pam? Is that what you're talking about? Or just building it in as mill levy and having it here for ongoing?
I'd be uncomfortable building it in as one time because unless you're going to cut salaries in the future.
Right. No, I just thought I'd heard you say that as a potential mechanism since we don't know what that number is yet.
What I want to be clear. No, I think what you could do is next year you will have to account for it in your reestimate, which means some other part of the county budget will have to go down by that amount. Normally that happens. And then you would build it in for 25. So you'd be using mill levy property tax authority in 2024 to account for it.
I don't think we want to take it out at one time. But I agree, Sarah. I want to have more time to talk this through to get a better picture of it. And I think you've told me, I think we've said it here, that we have enough to do a pay study for the sheriff's department and criminal justice services all together. And then that should sort of inform how we're going to move forward. If we need to reallocate in 2024, we can do that. And yeah, I'm comfortable with that if others are. Yeah.
Same.
Oh, you moved
Is that
it there.
reflected in this spreadsheet?
Thank you. Thank you, Cammie. Knows that I get a little freaked out about. She also knows I like to see formulas, so.
Well, the way the worksheet sits right now, it's actually a mill levy reduction of 1.896, and I can't get that to accurately reflect on that line without it pulling it into the formula right now.
So you can kind of see it up above. Is that what's sort of at the top, writing at the top? Well, that's showing one
Still
one
the
nine.
sum of everything under it.
Yeah,
But then the 1.991 is not actually the mill levy reduction we're looking at. It's a little bit different than that.
That's overall.
It's got a bunch of other lines.
It's
in there.
got everything else in the mix.
all your one-time stuff.
Okay.
You can't, I don't like doing that on the fly to change that,
Yeah.
to make it look pretty on a screen.
So do we know what the impact, the mill levy impact is?
1.996.
Of the reduction you've done, it's 1.896. Overall, from last year's mill levy as it stands right now, it is this 1.991, but I would caution you that that might be off by a couple hundredths when we go back and plug this into the system and bring it back to you.
So is the 44.228 is the adjusted mill levy accurate?
Yes.
That's accurate. Yeah, please understand, and for anyone listening and for the media, these are estimates at this point. We still have not talked it through CIP. And it is likely that I would say almost every year there are some slight verifications, even once commissioners set a mill levy based off of the tax roll and tax and Board of Tax Appeals, that the mill levy does change slightly.
Certainly be nice to get that to 2. Yeah, it's
difference between
disappointing
that
that
and
it's
2,
1.991.
I think we can calculate that if you give us a little bit of time.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the quick math in my head with no tools, and I'm a little mathed out because this is not my everyday. Except these 2 weeks every summer. When I was originally looking at the commissioner's line, I was thinking about the 100,000 for sure holdover from last year, but otherwise was trying to calculate leaving about a 500,000 in there, assuming that we'd have some of these contingencies, which is that
Probably
what we're
a little
about?
more than
A
that.
little bit more.
Just a little rough calculation. Looks like we are 91,000 off from being able to make that an even 2 mills.
Or 17,000.
17,000.
There's your dollar amount.
Oh, wow.
$17,616 would get you to 2
I
mills.
mean, we can just take that off fund balance.
Yeah, we can work that with
I
what
don't
you've got.
mind using one-time
Please
dollars
don't
in the
get
amount of
tricky.
$17,000.
I don't think we want to go back to look at community partners and try to find $17,000
That would hurt.
just so we can get to 2.0.
No,
We can
will
make
cut
that
it from
work.
fund balance.
And as these are estimates and there's a little bit of work left to do,
Agreed.
is that the number that will give that one time, the transfer from the fund balance to make that an even 2 mills?
We will make that, we will make that for your proposed budget now. Just that caveat of this could still get adjusted slightly even after you have your public hearing. We'll do the best we can, but once you set your budget, I have no ability to change it at that point. The tax roll and tax appeals change it and you have no authority in changing that.
Right.
So that's out of your hands at that point.
And just, you mentioned the capital improvement plan a moment ago, and for anybody who's listening, we'll be discussing that on the 26th, correct? During our regular Wednesday evening business meeting for anybody interested.
Actually, I think we're going to do it at 4 at a work
Oh,
session.
4 o'clock work session. Thank you for that. Yes.
And that currently shows the CIP transfer plus a 7% increase, plus the levy that was on special building and the radio consoles and some other one-time things. So we will, now that we've combined special building, we will eventually get to a new target on how we increase that moving forward.
Is anyone up for me complicating things just a little?
Sure.
So one of the things that I looked at through kind of the regular county operations was the number that's paid for electricity. It's about 830,000 between all of our buildings. I know Evergy is asking for a rate hike. They're actually in front of the KCC this week, yesterday, tomorrow, and then there's another one in Wichita on the 26th, I think. I don't know what impact that would have on that line item. There's also, I believe, City of Lawrence and Douglas County both pay the additional fund to Evergy that says that our electricity is coming from wind energy. It's not something that I've ever been really excited about. It feels like, well, like paying for blue skies, maybe not even the right way to say it. I don't know if that's been a conscious decision of the commission, in which case we'll just stick with it, or if it's something that kind of needs to be up for discussion. I have no idea what that amount would be.
What amount you're discussing?
So Evergy customers on their bill get the opportunity to also buy into an additional fund that supports Evergy. I mean, how it's billed is that it supports them adding renewable energy infrastructure. I'm not sure that has the same relevance in the light of all of the government subsidies that are available for that. I believe that Douglas County signs on to it. I've heard that from Sustainability Office before the split. I think the City of Lawrence and Douglas County both did. So that's my curiosity, is that are we paying that fee? Is it something we want to pay? And what that amount might be.
I don't think I can get that for you today. And I do think the commission voted to be a part of that effort.
In which
So-
case that is fine. I'm not trying to undo something. I just didn't know what the history of that request was and how commissioners felt about it.
It was a number of years ago. Mhm.
Which would have been before, the
Yeah, so it's
federal
something you could
subsidies,
certainly
so it-
reconsider if you want, but I don't know that I can calculate the dollar amount right now of what that would be.
and I'm not sure what the rate hike is likely to look like. Is that something that's kind of already figured and built in?
Yeah, our budget for electricity in 2023 was lower. We've increased it based off the rate hike. Our reestimate was 744 and we're at 820 for 2024. Which we may, which is, I mean, honestly, utilities are real hard for us to guess. And we do our best. But between all of our buildings, it's difficult. We've also had some more efficiency at the jail. So I'm hoping that helps us a bit. Because we completely redid all their HVAC. So.
Okay, commissioners, is there any budget? And remember, we're not approving anything today, this is just where we're at right now. We still have CIP to go through. Is there any line item that you'd like to revisit in the spreadsheet?
What I would plan to do then at this point is let us double and triple check our math again and bring this back to commissioners on the 26th. Like when we talk about CIP, we could also just, we can give you this spreadsheet now so that you can have it. The city, as you know, is still in their budget deliberations. We have gotten some word from them that we don't anticipate any other significant changes to our joint partnerships related to where their budget's at. But I'm planning to talk to the city manager later this week. So if we came back on the 26th, we could just confirm all this stuff and you would have all that. And then is all still in enough time to get us ready for the public hearing. And then we could wrap things up after CIP.
Can you cover for me and also for the public, like what the rest of that timeline looks like? So the revenue neutral rate letter goes out, and then when is the budget certified? Towards the end of August?
August 30th is our budget here, is our public hearing. I have to go back. That's Wednesday of the month.
I will tell you timeline wise, between now and the 26th, Douglas County, as well as all municipalities in Douglas County, needs to report back to the county clerk's office whether or not we are exceeding the revenue neutral rate. We do exceed that annually and we do submit that to them. But I wanted to make you aware that that will happen before the next
And we
discussion
need
on
to,
CIP.
that needs to be voted on by the commission.
Well, you will have to have a hearing and you will have to do all of that. I can submit the intent to the county clerk without that vote, but I just wanted you to know that that deadline is the 20th.
And the hearing's the 30th.
Thanks.
And we'll have more publicity out on our social media in advance of that, and our press release will include all that information as well.
We also heard from CFD1 as part of the budget process, but that's not part of our budget.
It
when
is.
It is not, is it reflected in here? Because they have their own mill levy separate from the county mill levy. Is that a decision and a vote that's taken separately from the county budget?
It is, but you have all my if you want anything more from CFD1, you need to let me know, because we had their hearing and that was,
And that's all we get for that. Okay.
you want more. But you will, yeah, on the 30th, you will take a separate, you'll have a separate vote for CFD1.
Anything else, commissioners?
I think it might be right for us to have a separate conversation about CFD1 because we had, just a very short time in that hearing process, and that I take that role very seriously, that we serve both as the county commission and also as the fire board for CFD1. I don't know that that has to be now. It actually has a little information I'd like to ask for and receive first. They've been at 5.5 mils since they were created, and created with the understanding from the entities that created them, which were either townships or fire boards, that would stay at 5.5 for 3 years. And then this is, I believe, the 4th year, or is that okay. So this was, I think it just is worth a conscious decision and conversation about that mill levy.
We can bring that up to you on the 26th if you want, when you do at the regular business meeting. So in essence, then there's also public comment on it. So you could, well, that would not be the official budget hearing. If you want, we can add it to the agenda for the 26th.
I think it would be good to get public input on that, either during the regular budget hearing or separately.
We can
What
do both.
commissioners think.
For me, just that work session's already full. So, and I don't think you need an hour on it necessarily. So I'll just put it on that agenda. You can take public comment then, but we'll just make it very clear. This is your review. This would be a review of this, a separate review of the CFD1 budget. And then you will we will advertise its public hearing then to also be on the 30th when you do everything else. And then you'll gavel in, you'll open up public comment for both items, and you'll take 2 votes.
Okay. Any closing comments, commissioners?
Commissioners, I would like to say I'm really pleased with how this process went, and it's just really been, this is a ton of work on our team, and I feel like at times I really can't think much past it until we get to this point, because there's so much involved in it. But I've just taken pages of notes from our conversations over the last couple of days, and I'm really excited to bring some of that back to you all with some plans for how what we want to talk about this fall, and into the future as to how we approach these things, and just really appreciate your support of staff and your thoughtfulness in this process. It's just been really, really grateful for your leadership. Thank you.
I want to say I really appreciate the level of detail that we get to be able to dig as far as we want, ask additional questions. I think that we've had the tools to make good decisions, and I really appreciate staff for that.
Yeah, ditto. As staff does such a wonderful job. This is a very public process that we do when it comes to our budget. And I think that's something that's very important to this commission and has been important to past commissions. Sarah, I do ask that maybe we, in a couple weeks, have a study session that's just sort of a debrief of the budget process. So that it seems like in past years, we've sort of breathed a big sigh of relief and started to dive into numbers and do other things. And I think we're all exhausted right now. And just continuing that conversation, but it probably just with the commissioners to have that, we talked about guidelines, we talked about sort of some general themes. We may want to put some communication out to community partners about that. So I'm excited about a lot of the conversations we've had here, and just want to keep that moving.
Absolutely.
And I know we'll have some community partners that we need to visit with some of that money that we've held aside there. And the sooner we do that, the better. I'm really pleased we're able to lower the mill levy at the rate we are. I've heard from a lot of community members, how our assessed rates are really impacting the tax burden for families and for community members. And sometimes I think that the mill levy, some of the services that we're funding sometimes are the same services, are the same people that are getting hit hardest by this tax burden. And so I appreciate that. I really approached this year's budget a little differently than in past, without a number to aim for, but to really look at every request we had top to bottom and see how that's going to impact our community and balance that. So I'm really pleased with where we've got. I'm sure there are people who have other opinions on that, and feel free to share them. I'm probably going to be sorry I asked for that, but I do think it's been a great discussion, and staff's work to get to us where we are has been really helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, I will just add a big thanks to staff and dedicating the amount of time that it takes to prepare this all spring and early summer, and then spend this time with us in such a public process. And it's pretty exciting process, and I'm proud of us this go around. And I think that this is what balance looks like. And I mean that by a balance of lots of competing values, and weighing out what needs are and what wants are, and what responsibility we have to provide quality services and meet the needs of our community, while also, as Commissioner Kelly pointed out, recognizing where the impact of the ever increasing assessed valuations and tax burden on many of our residents, where that falls, and trying to find some balance in those numbers. And I'm just grateful that we were conscientious about that, and that we were all generally on that path in our individual decision making. And it's just been a really great process that I'm proud of us for, and proud of staff. So thanks, and looking forward to all the future late summer and fall conversations to come.
Okay, commissioners, if there's nothing else, we're adjourned until we come back at 5:30 for our regular business meeting.